So the first time I ever saw a clip from this movie, I just happened to put it on. This is what I saw.
If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where fashion sits?
And so you can imagine that I thought this was the dumbest thing I had ever seen. And for much of this movie, I still hold that feeling. I just really like it now. Welcome back to Halloween in the Middle, everybody. Today our movie in the middle is Young Frankenstein.
Don't miss Young Frankenstein, personally directed by Mel Blazing Saddles Brooks.
Young Frankenstein is Mel Brooks' wacky spoof on classic monster movies as Dr. Frankenstein.
That's Frankenstein.
You sure it's not Frankenstein?
It's pronounced Frankenstein.
Okay, as Dr. Frankenstein brings his own monster to life, but with an abnormal brain. It stars Gene Wilder, Peter Boyle, Terry Garr, Marty Feldman, and Cloris Leachman. So I haven't talked about Mel Brooks at all on this channel, except for Spaceballs, which I think was like one of the very first Geek Week videos that I did. That was really early on, so, you know, who knows how that even holds up, because I was really young and stupid then. Now I'm even older and even stupider. But Young Frankenstein is probably my all-time favorite of his, although there is one that is running a pretty close race for first. But I think this one still ekes out just a little bit. Obviously, for the highs, we have to start out with the jokes, the bits, the gags, everything that Mel Brooks movies are. Now, this idea, this concept for Mel Brooks movies and things like Airplane and Naked Gun or whatever all those other ones are, I'm like 50-50 on it most of the time, because a lot of times it's pretty funny. But for me, having dumb jokes like that are really obvious, and then also pointing out that they are dumb jokes, like it doesn't automatically make a movie good, but they usually do a pretty good job with it, especially in Mel Brooks movies. Not all of them hit for me, but a lot of them do, and I think they're just fun in that way. And the fact that his whole thing is just that he took that concept and just makes his movies like that makes it special. But in this one, there are a ton of them that are really, really good, although for me, some push the boundary of stupidity a little bit.
Set a give?
But what really makes it good and what really makes it funny in this one is Gene Wilder's reactions to it, because for, you know, a good part of the movie at least, he is a grounded person who's kind of entering into all these really weird, stupid things that are going on, and he's like, what the hell? He's kind of like the audience in the situation in the movie. So a lot of stuff happens, and he just kind of has a normal reaction to it, and that is pretty funny.
Perhaps I could help you with that hump.
What hump?
Let's go.
But for me, what really sets it apart and makes it my favorite one is the tone, the setting, this kind of parodying of old black and white movies, old classic monster movies, things like that, because I love the atmosphere of those movies. I love them because they are eerie and they're spooky, but not in an actual, like, disturbing way where, like, scary movies are like now. They're kind of just, like, interesting and ooh and weird and fun, but I'm not gonna, like, be completely unsettled by them. And they're kind of oddly a little bit comforting in just the fact that I think they're quieter and they're more subtle. So, like, you know, when people are like, ooh, I fall asleep to horror movies, like, most of the time it's because they might be a little bit of a psychopath. But if they're watching, like, classic monster movies or old movies like this, I can kind of understand it. You know, it has that, like, static in the background. It's weird, but it's a little bit like white noise, so I get it. And they did a really good job in this one because it was still made in the 70s. So this is like, what, like 50 years ago? But those movies that it's parodying were made like 30, 40 years before that. So I think they did a really good job because even though it still does look like older to us, they did a good job of like really getting that cinematography down, backdrops and everything. They did a really good job of like making it have like the lighting specifically for having these like shadows and these places that are like dim and it looks a little bit out of focus. Like all that stuff they did a really, really great job on. Plus, I think the gags and the bits and all of that do actually work in this one better because they're a little bit more subtle. They're a little bit more just like awkward moments. Obviously there's some that are kind of dumb and really, really loud, but it seems that in this one, for me at least, they have like a majority more of quieter, more dumb and subtle jokes than in some other screwball comedies where most of those have to be like loud, boisterous, big noises, big funnies, whatever. So this one seemed like they toned it down a little bit for that atmosphere, and I really liked that. So it seems to kind of be this perfect blend of having that old classic feel, but also having the pacing of a little bit more of a modern movie, and especially being a comedy, because, you know, the older ones, I don't want to be like your stereotypical Zoomer, whatever, but they can be a little boring. They can be a little weird, and they do some things, and they shoot some things weird, and you're like, all right, this is not how people act today. So it's kind of cool to have the atmosphere, but also the more modern acting and pacing. Also, I feel like this might be redundant to say because most of the bits and everything are only done well because of the actors, but the acting is really, really great too. Again, it's one of those movies where like you can get away with a lot of stupid things and a lot of dumb or bad acting, but it's not necessarily bad acting, it's just like what the concept is. And of course Gene Wilder does incredible. I love how he puts over lines. He's just so funny in this one. Everyone is great. And Peter Boyle playing the monster is so funny because I grew up watching Everybody Loves Raymond. That's the first thing I saw him in. Or maybe it was Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed. I'm not sure, but I saw him in both of those things, and he, like, obviously he does, like, a parody in one of the Halloween episodes of him being a Frankenstein monster. Relax, literature people. But honestly, this has to have been, like, the easiest acting gig for him, because all he had to do was... And really, the more I think about it, that's most of what Gene Wilder had to do too. I've never heard a man scream so much in a movie.
Destiny, destiny, no escaping us from me.
My grandfather's work was doo-doo.
Is that what you're telling me? Lie!
In terms of lows, really the only one I have is that, and admittedly, I find this a lot in comedies for me, and with Mel Brooks movies specifically, the third act kind of gets a little bit less funny for me, even though there's still a lot of jokes. They just, I don't know, they don't seem to be as funny for me. It kind of starts to feel like it drags a little bit as well. It sort of feels like you're coming up to an end, and it's going to be this big climax, and then it kind of goes back and forth a little bit. There's like some redundancy, like the monster gets trapped, and then he's released again, and he gets trapped, and he gets released again, and all. It's kind of, it feels like it just kind of goes on a little bit long, and I like the first 2/3 a little bit more than the last third, but honestly, that's really my only thing with it, because again, it's not really something you can totally say is bad or make fun of, because the whole thing is corny and campy and bad. Like, that's what it's supposed to be. So Young Frankenstein...
My name is Frankenstein!
You gotta make up your mind, man. Young Frankenstein is one of my all-time favorites that me and my family love to watch at Halloween. It's one of those that we have on a list and we gotta watch it every year. It's super fun, but it gives you, like I was saying, that kind of classic feel without it being super slow or weirdly paced or weirdly shot or acted. However, you know, like we're not really used to that anymore. So it kind of gives you that while also being funny and giving you actual entertainment. And it's cheesy as all get out. It's so much fun. I love it. I'm going to give Young Frankenstein a 3.5 out of 4. Well, guys, let me know what you think of Young Frankenstein. What's your favorite Mel Brooks movies? How do you like them overall? And where does this rank in all of his? And keep a watch out because, as you know, I kind of do like one or two classics every Halloween season, every Halloween in the middle. And this time I'm going to be able to get to do 2. So Halloween, there's going to be another one, another classic that I watch every year that I love. And I really, really been wanting to talk about this for a while. So keep an eye out for that one. And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and Halloween right in the middle. I'll see you guys later.